The front door slammed behind me, the sharp crack echoing through the quiet dusk like a gunshot, leaving me standing on the porch clutching nothing but my keys and a half-dead phone. My hands trembled as I gripped the cold metal railing, the chill biting into my palms, while Sarah's words reverberated relentlessly inside my mind. I don't love you anymore. Get out. Her voice had been steady, calm even, not cruel, but it sliced through me like a knife, tearing open a decade of marriage as if it were nothing. 10 years and she tossed me away like a stranger, her eyes blazing with a resolve I no longer recognized. The air smelled of rain-soaked cedar, thick and earthy, while the flickering porch light cast jagged shadows across the lawn, where we'd once danced beneath summer stars now ghosted in memory. I stood frozen, heart hammering, struggling to piece together a life that had unraveled in minutes. I should have seen it coming, the late nights at her gallery, the way she lingered over her phone just a bit too long, laughter a shade too bright when texting someone else. I told myself it was stress, that her art wasn't selling, that the bills were piling up. I had ignored the faint musk of a strange perfume clinging to her scarf, convincing myself love made you blind, or maybe just a fool. Exiled from my own home, a darker flame kindled inside me, anger curling like smoke deep in my chest. I drove off the highway to a motel bathed in flickering neon, the kind where the buzzing signs sound like dying flies. The room smelled stale, cigarettes, regret, and faded dreams. The sagging bed beneath me held the weight of memories as I replayed our last fight over and over. "You're suffocating me, Tom," she had said just a week ago, voice tight as she rearranged her paintbrushes for the third time. I'd laughed it off then, blaming it on her artist temperament, but now alone with the hum of the air conditioner, her words cut sharper than I'd ever realized. They weren't anger, they were warnings. The next morning I called her, desperate for answers, maybe an apology. The phone rang endlessly before her voicemail picked up, cheerful and professional. "This is Sarah. Leave a message." I hung up, throat tight and hollow. I tried again that evening. Then the next day. Silence. On the third day her text came through, "Don't come back. I'm done." The words hit me like a punch, but it was the coldness behind them that burned deepest. No explanation. No remorse. I sat on the motel bed, staring at the cracked ceiling, and something inside me shifted. Hurt morphed into fury. I wasn't just broken, I was determined. I started digging, not with a shovel but with questions. I called our bank, pretending to check our joint account. The clerk's voice faltered when she mentioned a withdrawal, $5,000 transferred to an unknown account. "When?" I asked, voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. 2 weeks ago." I thanked her and hung up, mind racing. Sarah was always meticulous with money. Why the secrecy? I logged into our shared cloud storage, something I hadn't touched in years. Buried in a folder labeled Gallery Receipts was a photo, a man's arm around her waist, her head tilted against his shoulder, both laughing in a dimly lit bar. The timestamp, 3 months ago. I knew him. Daniel, her business partner, the man who always lingered too long at gallery openings, his hand casually brushing her elbow. I had dismissed it as professional. Now the memory of his smug grin burned like acid. I scrolled further, finding emails threaded with intimacy. "Can't wait to see you tonight," he'd written. "You're my muse," she'd replied. My stomach twisted, not just from betrayal, but from the ease with which I'd let it slip past. That night, I confronted her at the gallery, her sanctuary, all white walls and soft lighting, her paintings hanging like silent confessions. She was alone, arranging a canvas, her loose hair glowing under the spotlights. "Tom," she said, startled, her brush clattering to the floor. "What are you doing here?" "Who's Daniel?" I asked, low, voice thick with disbelief. "Dangerous," she muttered, face paling, but she didn't flinch. "He's a friend," she said too quickly, eyes avoiding mine. "You're being paranoid." "Am I?" I held up my phone, the photo glaring between us. Her eyes flickered, revealing raw, unguarded guilt for a moment before she straightened, voice cold. "You shouldn't be snooping. It's over, Tom. Accept it." 10 years, Sarah," I said, voice cracking. "You owe me more than this." "I owe you nothing," she snapped, stepping closer. "You never saw me. Not really. You loved the idea of me, not the mess I am." Her words stung deeply but rang painfully true. I had been trapped in the monotony of routine, work dinners, quiet nights, blind to her slipping away. I left, but not before noticing the lease agreement on her desk. The gallery space, her pride and joy, was in both our names. She'd forgotten that detail when she threw me out. An idea took root, not born of spite but of a need to reclaim what she couldn't take. Over the next week I consulted a lawyer. The lease was airtight. My name granted me equal rights to the property. I didn't want to destroy her, but I needed her to understand the weight of her choices. I filed paperwork to terminate the lease, citing a clause requiring mutual consent. Since I no longer consented, the gallery would close unless she could buy me out. She couldn't. The bank account was drained and Daniel, it turned out, wasn't the investor she'd claimed. When the notice arrived, she called, voice trembling with rage. "You can't do this, Tom. This is my life." I heard panic beneath the fury, the same desperation I had felt standing on that porch. "You made your choice," I said calmly. "You threw me out. This is just consequences." A month later the gallery closed. I drove by one last time, the for lease sign stark against empty windows. Her paintings were gone, her sanctuary dismantled. I waited for satisfaction, but all I felt was hollow. Sarah had betrayed me, but I had loved her, her chaos, her art, her mess. I tore down her world, methodical and legal, but it didn't rebuild mine. That night, a letter arrived in the motel mailbox, her handwriting shaky, fragile. "I'm sorry, Tom. I was lost and I hurt you trying to find myself. Daniel is gone. I don't expect forgiveness, but you need to know I loved you, even when I failed you." I read the letter twice, then tore it up. The pieces scattered in the wind like the ashes of a life we'd both burned.